Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another stream. Tonight, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We are going to be chatting and doing a Q&A and just talking about really anything that we want, but specifically, ideally, anything related to web development or design or, really anything related to like building a digital product, selling it, getting users, all of that good stuff is on the table here. So the floor is definitely yours, although I recognize that not a lot of folks are here yet. So I can also just chat and talk, and we can talk about kind of what's going on in the world today. So one thing that caught my eye, I think it happened last week, was that article that came out on like the don't use Laravel or something like that, which I thought was a funny article. So and it got a lot of traction in the space. I forget what it was called. It was like why you shouldn't use Laravel or something like that. And normally, like I see these like things like just blow up in the space, and it's like, all right, that happens. It's gonna happen like once a month. It's just kind of part and parcel of being interested in tech and in that space. But what I thought was like interesting for me was like that one struck a nerve more than anyone else, any other articles that I've seen recently. And the reason it struck a nerve, I think there's like two reasons for me. The first was that I think it's really hard to make blanket statements about technology. Like it's really hard for somebody to say never use this technology, right? Never use React, never use Vue.js, never use Laravel, right? Like that's such a like outlandish statement because it's like entirely dependent upon your context. So like I would never say like don't use a technology. I would say if you were comparing two options based on your constraints of your team, then you might want to go this way or the other way. But to have like a blanket statement of like just don't use this technology, that feels a little silly to me. How could you make such a statement? Maybe there's a time and a place for saying like, you know what, we're just not even going to consider this technology, and here are the reasons why. But like that, the reasons should be like focus on your context. Like for instance, if you have a team of like 5 developers and you've got X amount of funding, like this is your criteria, maybe that's like a good rationale for not using one tech stack over another. But that was not what the article was presented. It was like trying to critique like the actual core of Laravel, and I was like, that just didn't mesh with my experience. And then the other thing that was annoying was like there was that implicit assumption in the article that like as an enterprise developer, like I know best, which drives me bonkers because it's like maybe you know what works really well in your context, but like how could you possibly know what works for everybody else? And that is like it's just like a terrible perspective to have, because like you should be able to bring your knowledge to the context as opposed to just kind of making these blanket statements. And the other implicit statement in that is like that enterprise development is better than any other development that's happening, which is not true. Like I think there are tons of small startups and small teams and nonprofits and like open source collectives of like people doing really incredible stuff with technology. And the notion that you have to be enterprise to like have any sort of say or have any sort of like basis for making like informed opinions is ludicrous. So those are the two things that like I really didn't like about that article. There's like a whole list of others. I didn't agree with many of the points, and I can have like that rational like disagreement with somebody and like talk about specific points, but that was just one. I don't know. It just struck a nerve. It really had me going last week. I wasn't. I was kind of feeling a little sick last week, so I didn't have like a chance to like really articulate that. But now I'm happy that I'm venting to the stream here. So appreciate y'all for listening to the ramble. So looks like we got some folks here. So yeah, welcome. We're doing a Q&A. So any questions that you have about development, web development, or design, product design, building digital products, feel free to fire them my way. We're just kind of talking about anything. So all the fun stuff we have out there. I guess we don't have to talk about web development. You can ask other questions too. What else are we talking? We talk about education. We talk about ed tech in particular. That's a lot of my professional backgrounds in that space. Building curriculum, building courses, teaching. I had actually a great conversation today with some folks about teaching. That's something that gets me excited. Translating an idea to somebody and having that eureka light bulb moment. That's a fun conversation. So any questions on something like that, we can definitely talk about. Trying to think, what have I done recently that's pretty exciting? What advice would you give your younger self about starting as a developer? Oh, that's a good one. I think for me, what would I tell myself? So I would probably focus more on doing projects earlier in my younger development career. And like what I mean by that is like when I was like learning, so I'm like self-taught. So basically what that means is like I read a bunch of books as opposed to like going for a class and then tried to figure out how to do all this stuff on my own. And I was trying to like apply a lot of the concepts from like my readings and my learnings just generally. So like I would do the exercise in the book and I would like think that I like understood a concept. So like I was reading like eloquent JavaScript or something like that, and it was like, here's a function, do the function. And I would just like, I would type that code. I was like, okay, I will practice as I go. But I never could contextualize the work that I was like doing into like the broader like scope of like, why would I actually use this? Even for something like a function, right? So my advice I would give to my younger self is like, focus more on like, what do you want to do? Like, I want to build a website, right? And then learn how to do that, as opposed to saying, I want to learn JavaScript and I'm just going to learn everything I can about JavaScript. There's like, yeah, you need to have like some, so there's a little bit of a chicken and egg kind of problem there. But I think that I've always done my best learning in the context of like building something real and like a real project. And so that is definitely what I would tell myself. Do it in the context of projects. You'll learn 10x faster, and you'll be able to like put all the pieces together. So great question, Dre Scott Music. Any other questions? We're doing Q&A here, so I see more folks joining. So any web dev or coding or product design, any sort of questions, anything we want to talk about. Floor is ours tonight. I'm doing the Q&A. So normally I just come on and I do a stream about, I just like work on a project, which has been fun. And we'll get back to that project. We're building like a job board right now. But, some nights you're just not in the right headspace. You're just not in the mood to code or do design. And so I thought this would be a fun change of pace this evening. What else would you all like to hear about? I mean, I could just talk. Happy to just sit up here and talk about more advice from my younger self. And yeah, feel free to like throw questions in there. How'd you like to pick what projects to work on? So that's a good question there, Dre Scott. It depends. I guess it would depend on like what level of project, because like I have like professional projects that I pick for my job, and like I also pick like what jobs I go work for, versus like side projects that I just do on the side. I'm going to assume that's kind of what you're asking, is more that side projects. How do I decide what I want to work on? And so for me, I can't believe, more side project, cool. What I saw this, I forget who was tweeting it. Somebody was saying this, but it's basically like I typically will have like an idea, and then I will like sit on it for a week. And if I can't stop thinking about it, that's generally a really good signal to me that it's something worth working on. So I've got like a big list of ideas that I'm always writing in. And I will, as soon as I have the idea, I'll write it down. And then if I can't stop thinking about it for a week, I will say, okay, this is an idea that I want to explore. And then from there, I do a combination of like just like very light competitive research and I kind of say like, okay, is there like a market for this? Is anybody doing something similar? What sort of what does this look like, right? And so that is kind of like my jam. So like I just have a big list of ideas. I think of which ones excite me, and then I just kind of do some competitive research to kind of see like what does like is this like a for me viability. There's two ways I think about viability. One is like commercial viability. So for most of my side projects, I've learned what really motivates me is building something that I can sell and like get people to actually start using, because like that's I think so much fun to do on the internet. So that's something that motivates me. The other thing that I look at is like, do I think I can learn something cool or try something new or like just get better at something? And that's like another big motivator. So sometimes I'll do a side project that doesn't have any commercial viability, but I'm just trying to learn a technology. Like I was learning Unity a couple like months ago, I guess, and I didn't want to make a game, but I was like, I would love to learn how to do this, especially with VR coming around. So that was what I was getting into. So that for me was one of my other criteria. So it's an idea. Am I like super interested in it? Can I not put it down? Is there like some sort of commercial viability to this, or is it something I want to learn? Those are my questions that I ask myself. Great questions there, Dre. That's super helpful. Anyone else got questions? I mean, I'm happy to answer Dre's questions all night, but I can answer other people's questions too. It's open mic night. Well, I guess open chat night, which is a little different, but a little bit different. I hope the chats are open. I think they're open. Clearly, one of them is. I guess y'all are on Twitch, so we've got the YouTube in there as well. Last one. All right. Who are your favorite devs, designers at the moment? Oh, that's such a good question. Favorite developers. That's so hard. Developers, like I love. I'm gonna like. So I follow developers on like Twitter. So like, I don't really know how to pronounce their names correctly. So I'm sorry in advance if I butcher your pronunciation. Not trying to do that on purpose, but. Developers, I really love Sarah Ito. Like her work is just like her animation stuff is incredible. The way she explains concepts, and now she's at like a higher level of like management. So thinking about like how do you manage development teams? So I think she is phenomenal. And then like in similar vein, like I think her name's Cassidy. She does all like the TikToks and memes and stuff. She's phenomenal as well. So I just love following both of them for all their content. And just like what they're doing out in the world. And then obviously like I like to follow like Adam Wathan and the Tailwind team, what they're up to, because I use Tailwind a lot, and I just think they do a nice job of sharing their work. So that's super fun to see. Taylor Otwell, obviously, I'm following him, and the Laravel team and Mohammed and like the rest of them, like what they're up to. So they're doing great work. So I like watching them, and then trying to think if there are any other devs out there who I'm interested in. Those are kind of like the core ones. I've got like, if you just look at who I follow on Twitter, you can kind of see who I'm really like paying attention to. But that is those are the big ones for me. And then in designers, so like Tailwind, like I'm following Steve Shoger and the Tailwind gang. Who else am I following? I don't think she would call herself a designer, but like Wes Cow and all her work she's doing with Maven and like the edtech space, designing like cohort-based classes and courses, like that's really interesting to me. So she's not really a designer in the traditional sense, but she's like designing like a space. So I like her work. That's top of mind just because she released an article today, and I was jamming on that. What other? Dan Petty is somebody I follow. He just does great work overall. So I really like. Just kind of consuming his stuff and like following his dribble and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's everybody on my radar. So, but I mean, like incredible people out there, lots of people. So I feel like I'm missing people, which is like I need to like go scroll through my Twitter and kind of like pick people out because they are lots of awesome people out there, which is a cool world to be in. So thanks, Ray. Appreciate you sticking around for a couple questions here, and have a wonderful rest of your night. Unless you have more questions, in which case fire away. But Anybody else have questions? We are here. Should have titled this an AMA. Maybe that would have gotten more traction, but we're learning. All right, have a good one. Any other questions? I had to teach classes where I would just sit for questions, so I'm here to sit all night. No, we won't sit too long, but that awkward pause, that long silence, that is something that no teacher wants, but you have to sit with it sometimes. So we can sit with some quiet. That's a pro teacher move, is doing the glass of water. Learned that at Lambda School, so that was my go-to. And it's good to drink, good to hydrate. Gotta stay hydrated out there. What else is going on? Let's see. I was chatting a little bit about that Laravel article, my 2 cents, because the only thing the world needs is more 2 cents. If we added all the 2 cents up, we'd have a lot of cents. What else is going on? I've been playing with Next.js lately because that's what my team uses at work. And so I'm not on the development team. I'm a designer there. But it's been, I did a little bit of coding today and yesterday, which I'm always down for a little bit of coding. So that's been super fun. Checking out that code base. So like I'm background is like Vue.js and Laravel. So like I'm not super familiar with like the React space, although I've done some React work. I think it'd be hard to be a developer in 2021 and not have done some React work. So I'm familiar with React, but the Next.js paradigm is really cool. I've kind of really appreciated what the team has put together there. And I know, I think maybe I'll start asking questions. I know that there are projects out there that are like Laravel for JavaScript, but I've really never seen one that like does like the full package super well. So like Laravel, what's nice is like you have the ORM, you have the database hookups, you've got everything just like configured and you're ready to go. And like the only thing I've ever seen that's like everything out of the box has been Meteor, which was like super fun a couple years ago. But like even that's not perfect because it was like very much like a reactive, like it took React to the like reactive framework to the extreme with everything on demand there. And then the Mongo kind of database situation, which I think they fixed or they've changed a little bit, but like that was nice, like conceptually, to just be like, hey, you don't have to like set up a database, it's here, and you don't have to like configure all this stuff or like figure out how to put like an Express app together and like all the moving pieces and routing. It was just like out of the box ready, and you could get into writing your business logic. So I know that stuff exists in the, I assume actually I should say that it exists in the JavaScript world. I think there's like Sales and like other projects like that. I haven't played with them. And so to bring this full circle, like Next felt really good as like a bridge. Like it was like, it's not quite the full stack. Like you bring in like a separate ORM. So we're using like Prisma and stuff like that for like the database layer. But it felt close. Like it felt like, or at least the closest thing that I have had a chance to play with. So that's been super cool. So I'm always like, I start making like an SPA in like Vue or something, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with cores, and I don't want to like write a API or something for it, which you can fix. There's ways around it, but I'm always just like, this feels like a longer workflow than if I just spun up a Laravel app and I was like, hey, everything's right here, you're good to go. So that has always been kind of my preference, but I know there are times when an SPA makes sense. Although now with like inertia and stuff, Laravel is a very attractive option just because it's like, it feels like an SPA, even though it's like kind of an SPA. I guess it is like on the front end at least, but it just feels snappy. It feels like you're getting the best of both worlds, which I think is what they're going for. Jonathan's working on that. That's another developer who is pretty awesome and doing cool things. Lots of people doing cool stuff these days. It's really, I think like the last year or so has been awful in a lot of ways. I mean, just like every possible way. But then it has been cool to see the creativity and hustle that has come out of it. And I know like I've been super burnt out. Like it's a hard year to get anything done. But for the folks who have had that energy, it's been super cool to see what they've been up to, and that has helped re-energize me a little bit as well. So that has been cool to see. Definitely very fun. Any other questions? Like I'm happy to just sit here and talk, but any questions? Let's see here. We got some folks on YouTube. We got folks on Twitch. So like I can talk about my streaming setup, which is I used to only be on Twitch, and then I would just bring all my stuff over to YouTube. Which that's a system as like kind of VOD stuff, and then lately I've been kind of doing this restream thing, which has been pretty fun. So we've got the stream going in both, I assume in both places. Let me go look. Let me see here. If I give the YouTube a refresh here, sure enough, I am on, and same with Twitch and Twitter. We're doing great here. Look at that. Having a fun Tuesday evening. I wonder if Tuesdays are good days or bad days for folks. I do it because it works for my schedule, but if there is a better time, feel free to let me know. I am open to any and all suggestions on this. My next thing I'm going to figure out is how to put music on. I know there's been like a lot of like DMCA stuff with Twitch and YouTube and Facebook, all the platforms lately. So music is on my agenda. This is more of a fun thing for me, so I don't put a ton of cycles into polishing it, but it's definitely that's on my radar. So alrighty, well we can hang for maybe another couple minutes, but I'm sensing that we might not have a lot more folks joining us, so that's okay too. But in any case, it has been super fun chatting with y'all, and appreciate y'all letting me vent a little at the beginning, and then Dre with the questions. Appreciate that. So have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will catch you all